¿Cuál es el drama? ¿Usted igual van a ir arrollados a Estados Unidos?
No, dejamos para esta hueá que mirarla. Puerto Pintado, llegamos a Panamá y la compresor, weón. ¿La semana de
No, la semana. Sí, pero, oye, pero el trabajo vaya no estaba por todo para terminar de estar en el avión. Kelly.
Kelly, no, antes.
¿Cómo se llama? ¿Choles?
Choles.
Hay un balde al lado. ¿Cómo la fotografía?
¿Qué pasa, no?
El proceso de cómo se maneja esta canasta, comunicaciones, varias cosas de refuel. La mayoría de la instrucción la va a presentar el sargento Martin, mi compañero, sargento Martin, el instructor, boom operator, el que maneja la lanza, la canasta. Y también asistiéndole va a ser el suboficial Luis González. Él no es instructor, no solamente, pero...
However, memorandums of agreement with other departmental agencies have given this role a new look. Today, Navy and Marine Corps aircraft routinely rely upon aerial refueling support from Sykes Tanker Force. To provide this vital function, boom operators must be proficient in probe and drogue refueling procedures. This program is designed to qualify boom operators in Category B probe and drogue procedures without having actual in-flight training. Procedures covered consist of mission planning, pre-flight, after takeoff climb, air refueling, abnormal, and emergency procedures. Let's look at mission planning requirements. The installation of a drogue assembly on the tanker boom affects the weight and balance of the aircraft. The drogue weighs 143 pounds, which changes a simplified moment plus 250. This change must be annotated on line 15, reference 3 of DD Form 365-4. The drogue mission pre-flight is normal with two exceptions. First, the pilot must ensure that a drogue is installed before any mission that is scheduled to refuel probe-equipped receivers. Secondly, when the drogue assembly is installed, the boom signal coil is disconnected. This deletes the requirement to check the signal coil during the boom compartment check. Due to the weight and drag of the drogue assembly, the drogue adapter may extend the boom during takeoff and climb out. While accomplishing the after takeoff climb checklist, check that the boom is fully retracted. Boom nozzle and boom marker lights are not required for probe and drogue night missions. During the preparation for contact checklist is in the manual position. Caution, the telescope at disconnect switch must be in the manual position for all contacts. Since the signal coil is disconnected, place the system in override. This will allow you to trigger a contact made and establish a pumping condition after the receiver has made contact. Also remember, with the emergency override switch in the override position, the signal amplifier, signal coil, and envelope limit switches are deactivated. After lowering the boom to the trail position, extend it fully for all probe and drogue refuelings. Caution, due to the possibility of fuel pressure extending the boom, all air refueling with the boom to drogue adapter will be performed with the boom fully extended. Prior to pre-contact, determine the proper trail position for the type receiver you're going to refuel. This is accomplished by referring to the boom position chart in your checklist or Appendix 1 of the Dash 3. The boom will be trailed in this position.
Una cosa que está ocurriendo en este video, estos videos de entrenamiento para los boom usando solo para que vean más o menos cómo
Vamos a estar en el puesto de sargento. ¿Ah?
No, no.
Le vamos a quitar el trabajo.
Eso no tiene nada, muchos switches. Una cosa que estaba hablando ayer sobre reference, algo para ver abajo del tanker, abajo del tanker, para que se den cuenta más o menos dónde están. Y cerca de esa raya blanca van a ver una antena de radio pequeña, como unas 4 o 5.
Una raya horizontal, perpendicular al eje longitudinal.
Sí, horizontal. Y la antena, cuando lo ven esa antena, cuando hace contacto con la raya blanca, esa es la línea de 30 grados. Ustedes van a usar 34 grados. Y se ve. En el día se ve, en la noche, en la noche van a usar la luz. Y la lanza, el boom, va a estar todo, va a estar extendido 12 pies. Okay. 20 pies. Va a estar todo fuera. Y ahí se queda.
If trim setting is used, trim should be set as required to maintain proper trail position. Now, let's look at air refueling procedures. In this area, we will cover pre-contact, contact, and disconnect procedures. The pre-contact position of the receiver is a position where the receiver's probe is approximately 5 feet directly aft of the drogue. If 2 or more receivers are in a flight, the receiver lead will normally proceed to the pre-contact position. Other receivers will continue on to the observation position. For drogue refuelings, the observation position is a position to the right and or left and slightly behind the tanker, with a minimum of 1 receiver wingspan clearance between the tanker and receiver, weather permitting. Receivers in the observation position will remain there until cleared to the pre-contact position by the boom operator. With the receiver lead in the pre-contact position and the remainder of the flight in the observation position, you are ready to commence air refueling. When ready, the receiver should call stabilized pre-contact.
5-1, stabilized. 5-1, you're cleared to the contact position. 1.
What is the radio call? Stabilize or pre-contact?
Stabilize pre-contact. Stabilize pre-contact.
So you're ready to engage.
El boomer, tester, clear the contact.
After you have cleared the receiver to the contact position, the receiver will move forward to make contact with the drogue. Caution: during all contacts, the boom operator will hold the boom as motionless as possible. The receiver pilot will make all contacts. The boom operators will not move the boom except to avoid striking the receiver airplane.
Es importante. El boom operator no va a mover.
Of the ruddervator control stick will cause excessive drogue movement. When the receiver has established contact with the drogue, he will state, receiver call sign, contact.
5-1, contact.
At this
See the contacto? Radio call is
actuate the emergency contact made switch and state, tanker call sign, contact.
1-2, contact.
When both the receiver and tanker are in the contact made configuration, the tanker co-pilot will turn on the air refueling pumps momentarily to transfer a few gallons and pressurize the air refueling system.
Boom, go, he's taking fuel. Logical.
If no fuel leakage is observed, normal fuel transfer may be continued. However, if
This aircraft is not well aligned with the boom. That's normal. So the you have the boom on the right side, it's better to move it to the left side?
You can go either side. We hold the boom still. You have,
No, because if you
Right.
do it in the other side, you are going to touch the aircraft. The question is, this is the boom. Make the contact. You do it this way. But after that, this way. This is normal to do it because it's supposed that the aircraft is this way. But you must do it on this side. Other than that, if you do it the other side, you're going to touch. Do it this way. That the aircraft maybe.
maybe, it will.
The only way to do it is on the left side in this case.
That's correct. You will see, though, in actuality, when you're out there, it's very difficult to stay on because the hose length is very short. I've refueled, F-14s, F-18s, all on the right side. The probe is on the right side. The hose has gone up and laid on their airplane, and they don't seem to mind it. But that's not the best case. Not just the hose, not the boom. That would have been like this.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
So the best thing is to do it in the move it
Be-
a little bit to the left side.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any reference to keep the position, to hold the position?
For you as a receiver,
No, with the tanker.
oh,
You've got the fuselage, the tanker. This boom is going to be out 4 degrees to your right.
to your right.
So you will have, you should be lined up directly with the
Fuselage. That's-
Big yellow
that's-
stripe.
Yeah, but and up and down.
Up and down, all you have up and down is,
The smile with the
you can
antenna.
use the inverted T, or you will see the hose. You will see if the hose is stretched down, you need to come up. If it's down like this, you need to keep your alignment that way.
The hose.
Yes, sir. We're going to hold the boom still, so you have 8 feet of hose out there to deal with. And there's not much room.
on this T, usando la... Okay, otra vez. When you move from side to side, okay, this T is going to swing. Okay. As long as you keep the antenna inside the smile, you should be within a good distance.
Well, that's good for boom limits, but if we hold the thing at the 34 degree, with them 4 degrees to the right,
That's just that.
that may or may not work.
It's just, yeah, it's-
Receiver is not unloading fuel. The co-pilot will turn off the pumps and the receiver pilot will be notified. Monitor the receiver's position at all times while in contact. Some movement by the receiver can occur. Caution. To eliminate the possibility of the hose contacting the receiver while in contact, notify the receiver pilot anytime forward movement approaches 1/2 hose length.
Side 1, you're approaching half hose.
Caution. Air refueling will be terminated.
For the half hose, you will hear that both here and when you get to Las Vegas. That should keep the hose from laying on your airplane, whether you're on the left side or the right side. If we call half hose length, that means half of the hose is bent. So maybe move back a little bit. Always so when you're moving back, just very
means that you have more than 90 degrees with the hose.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Bubble or fuel leak is observed in the hose, except in case of emergency or when continuance is dictated by operational necessity. Warning! Whenever a fuel leak is observed, the boom operator will immediately trigger a disconnect, notify the receiver, and call for the receiver to disengage the drogue and remain well clear of the hose to minimize the ingestion of fuel into the receiver's engines. If it is determined that the leak is the result of a poor seal between the receiver probe and tanker drogue, a second attempt at contact may be accomplished. If the leak persists, no further contacts will be attempted with this receiver except in case of an emergency or when continuance is dictated by operational necessity.
Just have it here.
If a
What
no
is the
flow
meaning of an emergency for you?
The emergency would be for you. If, for instance, like when we take you up to Las Vegas and we're out over the water, if you have to have the gas, we will give you the gas.
So, emergency, fuel emergency.
Yes, sir.
Fuel emergency to arrive to a destination or alternative.
Alternate.
or the receiver is unloading at less than a normal rate, notify the receiver pilot. The receiver will then initiate a disconnect. Prior to a planned disconnect, give corrections to maneuver the receiver so that the drogue is in the desired trail position.
5-1, right, 5 degrees.
The receiver will reduce.
Catch up. Before the disconnect is ideal. So I don't know what the email.
Natural line
Yes, sir.
disengagement.
If not, then before you get back, I will try and end the line it. And that way, the basket will not hit your aircraft.
And move slowly straight back to make the disconnect. After the receiver disconnects, trigger the disconnect switch, returning the system to the ready condition. At this time, state tanker call sign, disconnect.
5-1, disconnect. 1-2, disconnect.
Ready to go. Disconnect.
Who is 5-1 and who is
5-1 was the tank.
So 5-1 identified and ordered to disconnect.
5-1 triggered the disconnect. And then 1-2, I think it was, 1-2 actually separated and confirmed that he had a disconnect.
So you notified when to disconnect.
When I disconnect, you will no longer get any more fuel.
Oh, disconnect is only to stop the fuel flow.
That will stop the fuel flow electronically on our airplane. So you will no longer be able to take any.
Disconnect is only reference with fuel flow, but not with the disconnect of the
It is
boom.
connected to boom.
Also.
Yes, sir. Because if you request a disconnect, say if you say, Mustang requests a disconnect, I'll say, Roger, I'll trigger a disconnect, and you will back out, and then you will say Mustang disconnect. That way, I know that we don't have the pumps going while you back out. You no longer need any fuel. Each person can request a disconnect.
Normally does a disconnect.
Normally, the normal procedure is, I will tell you, sir, that you've received your scheduled offload. If you want to stay there longer, that's fine by me. But it doesn't matter to me. If you want time, sometimes people want time back there on the boom, that's fine. But we stop pumping. If you say that, okay, I've got my scheduled offload, my 2,000 pounds, I want to disconnect now, say, Roger, disconnect now. I'll trigger a disconnect, and then you will slowly back out, line up the boom, slowly back out, and then you will call when it's physically disconnected, you'll say disconnect. A lot of times here, when you're disconnect, I can't see.
You can't see. Not.
I can't see the basket here. So that way you're telling me that you're clear of the basket as well.
Well, in this case, the idea is we will engage the first time, right? We will connect. We will receive fuel.
Yes, sir.
Always the first time? Or not?
Yes, sir. That's the way that we do it. Always the first time you will receive your fuel.
The first aircraft.
First contact.
The first aircraft or the first time for each aircraft?
First time for each aircraft.
First time for each aircraft.
Yes, sir.
How many pounds we will receive? 100? Just 100?
No, you wanted 2,000 pounds per plane, correct? So each first contact, you will take 2,000 pounds.
Don't need me that we are protected.
Oh, yes.
We don't have more time to put more fuel.
Maybe we should do it backwards. We should take the 1,000 that we spoke about last night, and afterwards, because at first we won't be able to take 2,000 because we'll be full internal almost.
Okay.
So first one we should take 100, and afterwards, before we finish our practice, we should take 2,000.
Okay, and I'll tell you something that can be good and can be bad with that is, number one, you're going to make 10 attempts, okay? When you do this at Red Flag, if you do it the opposite way, if something happens to the drogue,
I don't.
okay.
In this
Yes,
case,
we know,
yeah.
it's just practice.
But that's fine.
just for practice. It's a training mission,
Okay.
not an operation mission.
That's fine.
But 100 is good for you to test the system?
100 is good for us. We can see if there's any spray.
Okay.
That's fine for us.
So we will take 100, we will perform the 10 in 10, and we require additional fuel. Pues mira, mucho.
Es lo máximo.
That's the maximum. From realistic point of view, I think the best thing to do it, the first contact you engage, you give 100 just to test the system.
Right.
The pilot will practice, and usually will ask 500, maybe 1,000. And the maximum that we could ask would be 2,000. But I think the will be 500 or 1,000, no more.
Okay.
Other than that, we will have so much weight to learn.
To land. Okay.
I think 500 will be, or maybe 1,000 would be
1,000.
would be a realistic figure. Anyway, we will let you know how much
we
need.
want. Okay.
Is in a safe position, a minimum of 5 feet after the drogue. Cycle the boom. This is
Sorry,
accomplished
sorry.
by retracting the boom to
How many PSI are you going to load?
The transfer rate is approximately 1,200 for one pump. 1,200,
With which pressure?
excuse me?
Pressure for spray?
The pressure is about maybe 50 pounds per square inch. Very low pressure.
Don't get above 55. We used to do it between 50 and 55.
Okay. We can't regulate it.
You can.
No, sir.
Okay.
But that's about it.
But it's not more than 55.
I don't believe so.
No, you have to assure me. That the tank will.
I don't believe it's, I don't have anything. All I know is it will, if we go above.
Tested for the maximum, I think the limit is 60. But for safety reason, we use maximum 55.
Okay.
And we have tested at 55 on the ground. Oh, the system works good, but we would like to know what is the maximum pressure.
Okay. I don't think it's much more than that, if at all, because we will get pressure disconnects off of the boom. That's all I can tell you. I don't think that it's anything more than, you know, the F5 was designed, there was designs originally, you know, to refuel behind the KC-135, and they've done it. So I'd imagine that everything should work okay.
You imagine? I want to be sure.
We'll be sure on the first one.
Could you get that information?
I'll ask. Los que aprobaron estas maniobras son de right hand. The test the wing at right hand. They did the test with your probe and the basket. They said yes.
But we didn't have the report.
Okay.
So maybe our good engineers But I'm the commander, so I need to be sure.
I would not see it.
What we did is, normally, the F5 would take 2 of our pumps. We can't make it less, we can make it more pressure. We use 4 pumps, max pressure. The book said, called for 2 pumps for the F5. But for this operation, they said 1 pump. And if you use 1 pump, they give us the okay to do this. That's what's, I'll, digamos, pero, por mientras aprobado nuestro.
And then returning the boom to the fully extended position. Cycling the boom is required in the event of failure to obtain a contact and after each disconnect. This action relieves trapped fuel pressure in the drogue assembly, which could prevent subsequent contacts. Caution: the boom operator will not retract the boom to effect a disconnect, except in an emergency. The drogue whips back and forth over its trail position very rapidly when breaking contact. If the receiver is to the left or right of the prescribed trail position, the drogue could cause excessive damage to the receiver. When the receiver has his required offload, clear the next receiver from the observation position to pre-contact and repeat the previously mentioned procedures. Radio silent procedures for probe and drogue operations are similar to those for boom air refueling. Both are found in your checklist. Next, we look at abnormal procedures. Although a small amount of fuel spray from the boom probe nozzle does not require fuel transfer to be terminated during contact and disconnect, fuel transfer will be stopped and the receiver notified anytime fuel siphoning is observed. Continuing the air refueling operation will be at his discretion.
5-1, you're siphoning fuel. 5-1, Roger. 1-2, disconnect now. 5-1, disconnect. 1-2, disconnect. 5-1 is terminating refueling at this time. 1-2, Roger.
Caution: when any system malfunction or condition exists which could jeopardize safety, air refueling will not be accomplished except during fuel emergencies or when continuance of air refueling is dictated by operational necessity. Warning: if fuel is observed leaking from the boom nozzle, or anywhere on the boom to drogue adapter kit during air refueling, fuel transfer will be terminated. Unless the situation warrants an immediate disconnect, the boom operator will coordinate a normal disconnect from the prescribed trail position. No further contacts will be attempted with this receiver, except in cases of emergency or when continuance is dictated by operational necessity. If the receiver's probe becomes entangled with the drogue hose, inform the receiver to hold its position and coordinate the actions necessary to correct the situation. Finally, we'll look at emergency procedures. When either a tanker or receiver crew member determines that a condition exists which requires the immediate separation of the airplanes, he will transmit the breakaway call on the air refueling frequency. The boom operator will actuate the disconnect switch. This terminates the pumping condition.
Breakaway.
Perfect legal.
To flash the pilot director lights because they are not on during probe and drogue refueling. Clear the boom away from the receiver, keeping in mind the cautions already discussed. Don't retract the boom to effect a disconnect, except in an emergency. This might cause a whipping action of the drogue. Notify the tanker pilot on interphone when clear to climb.
Now, to clear the line.
Success of probe and drogue refueling depends on the proficiency of the receiver pilot, flight conditions, and stability of the tanker and drogue. The boom operator's contribution is simple. Hold the boom as motionless as possible in the proper position and monitor receiver movement at all times. concludes the program, but not your training. Each flight is a learning experience in itself, and maybe something you encountered could benefit one of your fellow boom operators. Share your experiences with them, what you've learned.
Okay. What I'll discuss, some of the things that I'll discuss are radio calls, join-up procedures, air refueling procedures, or AR, offload report, that's something we will give to you, the fuel transfer rate, which we've already discussed a little bit, some of the terminology that we will use today and you will see in the future, some of the techniques, some of them the Colonel has already mentioned, the boom operator and receiver techniques, basket characteristics, the boom position, night operations, a little bit about the performance of the KC-135, and then any questions.
I suggest to leave night procedures. Briefing.
Okay.
Concentrate only on day.
On day
procedure.
Okay, sir. First of all, we'll talk about some of the radio calls that you'll hear, not necessarily here, but you will hear at Red Flag. One thing is GCI, the ground control, will tell you to switch to the boom frequency. And today, I believe we all have that on our sheets, which is AR primary frequency. Once you get on there, onto the boom frequency, contact the receiver, or the tanker, approximately 15 minutes prior to the air refueling, or whenever you check in, whenever you both get up on the boom frequency. Some of the things that we'll want to hear, whether you're early or late, what your altitude is, the altimeter setting, whether you have 2992 set, that your switches are safe for your armament. Altitude, we've discussed that. And I understand that the first set will come in with us, all the subsequent sets will be high, and then they'll join up once the others are cleared. Well, we'll talk about that. Join up, normally the flight will join up on the wing. They can join up on the right wing, the left wing. The flight lead, whoever happens to come up first, will kind of determine it for everybody else. Sir, if you come up on the left wing first, the next set will more than likely the way that we'll try and do things, they'll be on the right wing.
In this case, we will work usually by elements, so always we will have to work.
All right.
We will come out from the right side.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that is refueling is the tanker.
Right.
The other one will be on the right.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy will go out. Reverse position left.
Okay.
Have to go lateral. We'll wait.
We'll wait for number two.
I will be out, going to the left side.
Okay.
Wait for the other one. Engage. So then you take the right position.
No, you
We'll
stay on
keep
the
on
left.
the left side.
Stay
Okay.
over there and go
We'll
left.
keep it the left side and then go out.
That's fine. If we can cycle this way,
Coming from the right, going to the left.
or coming from the left.
No, in this case,
Either way.
always from the right to the
Okay,
left. So
that's fine.
always will come in from the right,
And leave to the left.
lead to the left. So the first one will be engagement, the other one will be on the right.
Yes, sir.
If you have one on the right, means this guy needs practice.
Okay.
Okay? We go out,
Mm-hmm.
see that one guy see from outside, and see one guy in the left wing,
Mm-hmm.
means that this guy finished his practice. He's
He's
waiting
finished.
for the wingman.
Right.
The wingman finished, then go out from the left. Is it any?
Now, for you guys, do you mind if, when you have one done, one on the left wing, one on the drove, if we bring two more on the right wing?
On the right wing.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
If for any reason you can't rejoin forward, we'll be on that wing.
Okay, that's fine. Just everybody will be up on the right wing.
Right.
And when you check in, we'll clear you then to join up on the right wing.
The first time you need observer position. On just arrive from observer position all the time?
No, your first element lead.
You don't require
No, sir.
go to observer position.
No, sir.
Okay.
Your tanker's empty, nobody on the boom.
The flight lead is cleared up to the pre-contact position, and then the remaining off onto the right side.
When do you need observer position?
If you're waiting to come on the boat. When you're waiting to come on the boat, you have to go to observer.
Wait, what?
Waiting to get on the, to make a contact.
Okay.
When you're waiting,
So the first, at any time, if there is no aircraft in engagement procedure, no aircraft at all, you, or the fighter, are authorized to go directly to pre-contact position.
stabilize pre-contact.
But if the tanker is busy with some aircraft, the next aircraft that are coming require to go to observer position.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right, we'll put them up on the right wing. That's correct. Flight lead will go to the pre-contact position immediately, unless, unless we already have somebody on the boom, as we just discussed. Pre-contact is about 5 feet, 1.5 meters back of the basket. Once lead is done and off on the left wing, number 2 can come from the observation position to the pre-contact position. He'll get his 10 hookups, be done, and his gas, and join flight lead, and then they'll break left. And then the next, from the observation position, same thing. Once they're cleared, you can come over.
Let me clarify immediately because remember the women will not do as you said. First two aircraft will arrive here because of the first one will be in position immediately because nobody's in the tank. Authorized to pre-contact. Okay? So then number 1 will be here and we practice 10 and 10. Okay. And the wingman will be in the same position to the right side. Correct. This guy finish, we go to the same position here. And this one we move here. Practice 10 and 10.
Great.
If in this moment 2 aircraft, 1 aircraft arrive to the tanker, we'll take as 1, take observer position. Okay?
Okay.
Until this guy go out.
That's correct.
Okay? So when this guy go out, these guys will be authorized to the pre-contact position. And this guy will go away.
That's correct.
Okay?
Go away low.
We're talking about horizontal. Now we're going to talk about vertical. Okay? The tanker will be flying 5,000 feet. Q and H. You need? So fly level 250. Okay. The aircraft, the F-5, are coming to the tanker with GCI or radar information, will always arrive above flight level 270, always arrive. The F-5 are red, they are coming 270 or above. Okay? When they got visual contact with you, and I call it what's going on here, if there's nobody here, the minimum distance to chain level in this case would be 1 mile. So 1 mile behind in any position, minimum would be 5, 6, but no less than 1. You go down, below the flight level 250, and will arrive to this position and to this position. Okay? So, we will never have the chance to hit you. We will be always above. We will look to you, no less than 1 mile. We go lower. We will approach to this position or to this position, depending how many people is going to take.
Before you approach, a radio call to us, just for clearance.
What we're going to do, we're going to be with the radar until we got visual contact. If somebody's working here, we will keep our mouths closed until this guy finishes.
Okay.
When this guy finishes, we will request.
Okay.
In order to gain time, if this guy, the second guy is practicing,
Right.
in a period of time, we will request observer position, right observer position. We are going to clear right observer position. We will put here. So when this guy leaves, we are going to authorize pre-contact position. Right?
Very safe. Night or day?
Right. The same at night.
At night. MCON 1 will use, like radio calls that you heard on the video. Stabilize pre-contact, clear to contact, disconnect. We can tell you if you're taking fuel, if you'd like to hear that. But you should be able to see your gauges, what's going on there. First contact, 100 pounds. And then when you want your 1,000 pounds, if you want it on last contact, we'll give it to you on the last one. You tell us what you want and when you want it, and that's when we'll give it to you.
If we require food, just food, just to go with food, right?
Right. You can say request top off, and then what we discussed yesterday is since you have no way of knowing where your external tanks are, when we start seeing fuel spray, we'll tell you that your externals are full.
When we request top off, are you able to tell us how much fuel we transfer?
Yes, sir. During this time, if you could, we get a tail number from each of your aircraft.
Call sign.
We'd like tail number 2, and that way we can have something for our paperwork.
Because we move not on the pilots. Just jump on the aircraft and forget what is the tail number.
Okay.
So
We'll get it.
on the ground, it's possible when you see the call 781.
Okay. That's fine.
Identify the call sign, then when you go to the ground,
We'll get
you
it.
check this guy, what aircraft.
Okay.
We fulfill it on the
That's
ground.
fine.
Okay?
That's fine.
Se dan cuenta que eso es normal.
Yeah. When you get to red flag, they'll want to know, why you're flying. They're going to want to know.
They want to know.
They will want to know.
Why? What for?
That way they'll know who gets charged for what fuel.
You get what?
Charged.
Hey.
But that's the way that they will do it back at red flag.
But they are mine. They have to charge to the airport. Civil airport. Pay.
I don't know. That's the way that they do it.
All the aircraft belong to the same owner.
Yes.
No problem.
Well, that's the same with
car
ours.
is the same.
Ours is the same.
Davies have to pay.
Here, like I said, aquí no importa. Solo un cheque. Vegas. Y en la noche no se ven. De día, en el día sí se ven. ¿Cómo tomar los números? En la noche no se ven. Para cuando venga accountability, hay que pasar el número. It's a radio call, so you hear it. You hear the boomer say, that's your tail number.
Receivers are done, they'll move back, and then get into the air refueling position. We'll give you an offload report when you're finished. We'll tell you how much fuel you got, and then if there are any GCI frequencies or anything else that the air traffic control may want you to do. Here, it's probably not a problem, but at Nellis, they'll have like a range control, and they'll tell you, you know, the tanker will tell you, range control wants you to switch to this frequency, so you'll just, Roger, you know, switch to that frequency, and then you'll contact range control out at Nellis, or whoever happens to be working the GCI there. Okay, but that's a radio call that you'll normally hear out there, not necessarily here. Okay, we've discussed fuel pressure. Talked about the term breakaway. For us, you won't see the position lights flash, but you'll hear myself or Luis say, you know, Bobby 41, breakaway, breakaway, breakaway. Lower strobe underneath the aircraft will turn on. The person on the wing, stay with the tanker. The person who's on the basket pulls back and separates from the basket and the airplane. Once everything is well clear, the receiver or the tanker pilot will terminate, and then we'll start again. You know, stabilize pre-contact and everything. We'll set back to our airspeed, and then you'll come up and join up. Questions with breakaway? Big thing is just separation of the two aircraft. You also hear us say half hose length, as we discussed before. Or if you're approaching the half hose length, that gives you an idea that maybe you're getting a little bit too far ahead, too far to the front. So just slow power corrections and back off a little bit. What now?
wanted 10 minutes.
That was the time they get on.
Okay. Okay.